welcome to Squirrel's Bookshelf. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than the other videos I've posted so far, and I know I haven't posted it in a little while, but that's because since starting my channel, I've decided to regroup and re-strategize a little bit in my process, but I do have other videos coming out shortly. But for now, I wanted to give you guys a little bit something special, and this is a video that's going to merge two passions of mine, one being books, obviously, hence this channel, and the other one being props. Film props, TV props, theater props, things that you can hold in your hand to help bring a story to life. And for me, that really all began with Harry Potter. Now, I am definitely of the generation who grew up with Harry Potter. I was 17 when the last book came out. My 4th grade teacher introduced me to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and from then on, I read all of the books, reread all of the books, watched all of the films, went to several midnight premieres and midnight releases. I love Harry Potter. Now, my love of Harry Potter has actually gone a little bit deeper because my husband was in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He got to be an extra because he went to the school that is connected to Gloucester Cathedral, and they use Gloucester Cathedral for the 1st, 2nd, and 6th films, and so he got to be in a scene in the 2nd film. So if you watch the video all the way to the end, I will put the screenshot in of my husband in his little Gryffindor costume. It's really cute. Now today, most of my prop collection still is Harry Potter, but I do have some other stuff. I've got some like Doctor Who, Back to the Future, anything I find interesting really. But on the Harry Potter theme, the reason I'm making this video is because my husband's Christmas present to me this last year, we have just actually experienced yesterday, and that was the Warner Brothers Harry Potter studio tour. It was brilliant. It was magical. It was everything I wanted it to be. I want to go back. I want to work there. It would be amazing. So this video is going to be some shots I took at the studio tour, focusing on the books. And my newest acquisition is The Tales of Beedle the Bard. So this is actually a journal, and they've released several of these now that are designed to look like the prop books in the films. This is the only one to me that's really the right size. I wish they would sort of scale some of the other books a bit bigger because they are meant to be bigger, but they're all really cute. I might get some more anyway. We'll see. So now you're going to see a compilation of videos and photos I took of every single book I saw on the tour. Now, most of them were together in a big glass case with a lot of other printed material. It was all in the graphic design department, but some of the books were also scattered elsewhere. There were a few that were left in the seats on Hogwarts Express. There were a few in some of the classrooms. Anyway, you're going to see all of that. So it's a compilation of the prop books in Harry Potter. And I did learn some extra fun facts from the interactors at the studio, so I'll share those as I go along. And then at the end, I'm going to throw in one extra little special thing, something I had been waiting for years to see at this tour. And it was, just watch till the end. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy. So first up, one of my favorite sets was Dumbledore's Office, and it's filled with giant books, which are actually rebound telephone books. In the Gryffindor common room, there wasn't anything in particular, but there was a nice little stack of books over on the desk with some pumpkin juice, and even a portrait or two had a nice book in it. Then, of course, the destroyed Tom Riddle's diary, which was in the display cabinet along with all the other Horcruxes. One of my other favorite sets was the Potions Classroom, and of course we found Harry's battered old copy of Advanced Potion Making, one of the older editions, that used to belong to the Half-Blood Prince. But of course around the rest of the classroom there were only the newer editions of Advanced Potion Making, and I hadn't noticed until then that the four edges of the pages were actually speckled as well, so that was a nice touch. And then at the very end there was an open potions book, which made me really excited. I did learn something, that any of the books in the films that had content created for the inside, they would generally write about 20 pages worth, and then to make the book thicker they'd just copy those 20 pages over and over and over again. Then around the corner we had Professor Lupin's self-packing suitcase, but when the shelf opened with all the books I did get a couple of shots at Lupin's books. Then once we made it through the wall onto platform 9 3/4, there were lots of trolleys with suitcases, so naturally I went straight toward Luna Lovegood's, my favorite character. And of course in her cart she's got the Spectra Specs issue of the Quibbler magazine. And then next to Luna's, I think it was Percy Weasley's cart that had Hogwarts A History, with The beautiful marbled paper on the boards and red leather spine with some gilt lettering on black on the spine as well. There's also a copy of this later on in the graphic design display cabinet. Then we hopped on board the Hogwarts Express, and as I said before, there were a few scattered books in the seats. I didn't get the best photos here, but pretty much all of the books you saw on the seats were in the display cabinet coming up. And now on to the main event. As you can see, I was geeking out pretty hard. Now this entire display cabinet was showcasing the graphic art department, which was led by Mirafora Mina and Eduardo Lima, along with their assistant Lauren Wakefield. So starting off, here's a better look at some of those Hogwarts workbooks, some of which are on the seats on the Hogwarts Express. Again, the Advanced Potion Making books, both editions, and an edition of Most Potent Potions. Now, Gilderoy Lockhart's books are hilarious. One thing I did learn is that the artist really wanted the material of the book to reflect the author. So for Gilderoy Lockhart, all of his books have some element of snakeskin, and that's because he's sort of an untrustworthy character. The great thing was there were so many books that I had never seen or noticed before in the films. So we have Hermione's copy of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, along with some of her textbooks on ancient runes. Again, you see Hogwarts: A History. Unfogging the Future, the divination textbook. I'm sorry that the lighting isn't all that great on this one, but it's probably one of Neville's, called Windigrand's Wondrous Water Plants. And that one in the leather wrap, I believe, is Ginny Weasley's Transfiguration textbook. Of course, a few issues of the Quibbler, the second edition of Bathilda Bagshot's A History of Magic, and another one of Neville's textbooks, that's Magical Water Plants at the Highland Locks. Now, Rita Skeeter's The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore was designed with that green and purple to evoke a pulp fiction sort of style. The photo album that Hagrid gives Harry at the end of the first film is so much smaller than I thought it was. There's that Tales of Beedle the Bard that Dumbledore wills to Hermione, a do-it-yourself broom care book. Now in the creatures department, they had the Monster Book of Monsters. They had lots of them actually because each one is its own unique creature. And then they had an operational model which you could see the animatronics working, and then they had an open model so you can see what's on the inside. Now the newest addition to the tour is Gringotts Wizard Bank. Holy cow, is that set phenomenal. But of course there were all the giant accounting books out. And then finally over to Diagon Alley and Flourish and Blotts. I was so sad that you couldn't actually go into Flourish and Blotts, but they do have the window display set up as it is in the Chamber of Secrets with all of Gilderoy Lockhart's books. But the other funny thing about Gilderoy Lockhart is his name on all of his books is slightly bigger than the title, and that's because if you know Gilderoy Lockhart, it's obviously all about him. It doesn't really matter what the story is. And there's a happy squirrel. Okay, so that's the end of the book tour. Now on to that last little special something, and this is actually sort of the final attraction of the tour, but I have been waiting for years to see this. And to my fellow Harry Potter nerds that have made it this far, thank you so much for watching my video. If you want to see more bookish, nerdy fun, like, subscribe, ring the bell, anything you fancy. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. So in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, when Harry discovers Filch's cat has been petrified, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione see that the blood writing on the wall saying the Chamber of Secrets has been opened, enemies of the air beware, Filch comes running through the crowd of students. As soon as he does that, just over his shoulder for about 2 or 3 seconds is a little head poking his way through. That is my husband. Thanks for watching. Keep on reading.